How long are the tables? Do you know?
I think 8 foot. Well, I think it's like this. What would, no, this would probably be 6
If
foot.
that's
I
it.
live
Okay.
just past this.
Yeah, so I'd say
I drive
6
by
foot.
it every day.
6 foot.
I'd say 6 foot, yeah.
It definitely is a lot of work, because they left it live. Even after the auction, I think they sold the file cabinets and then just like took
That's
everything.
probably.
file cabinets and stuffed it on the floor.
But
So it was,
it was better.
you should stop in sometime, it's so, Jimmy did such a nice job.
Well, it's not, well, it's not really so.
It's just very good.
We ready?
Yep.
Okay, we'll get started. John's on his way, he's a couple minutes late. He texted me and said he's coming. Check out your minutes if you haven't already. And if there's anything we need to correct or change.
We'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second,
I'll second.
a motion is second. All in favor?
Right.
Anyone opposed? Let's do the treasurer's report real quick.
Treasurer's report is not in the packet. Oh, maybe it's in the new packet.
Oh, you're fast.
Sorry.
I should have better
So the first part is the running balance, and at this point, the running balance is $183,067.99. And then the next document is the budget versus current spend. And page 1 is all of this current fiscal year and the spend that we've spent so far. You'll notice a couple things that ahead of the schedule, we did Jelinek, and that's actually been paid out. And then the second page of that is the carryover items. And all of the carryover items from last fiscal year that we still had that were encumbered, that has been completely paid. Questions?
Is that audit, is that the actual number, that $1,000?
That's what we paid this year, yes. Yeah, it used to be 500 and then we went over last year and it was 1,000, and so we budgeted for 1,000 this year. And then it, yeah, well, that's last year's carryover. That,
Right,
yeah, that we approved 1,000 and we paid 1,000.
because it was always $500.
Right, yeah, and then on this fiscal year, we put $1,000 on the budget because of that.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
I do have the LBCA sponsorship invoice in that, and I have their check today for $1,000. And then I see that we also have the capture. It's not reflected in here. It'll be reflected on the next treasurer report, because let's see. I don't see the exact date that it was deposited, but $16,681.98 has also been dispersed to our account. And that'll be reflected on the next treasurer report.
That's printed.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Is it Lee? Lee?
Yep.
Lee is here from the MEEC. to give her presentation. Have at it. Are you gonna go up here on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can kind of scatter it, huh?
Yeah. I can see it.
That's.
That's I'll point it. There we were. Okay. Everyone see okay? Okay, my name's Lee Young. I'm the senior Main Street specialist with the Michigan Main Street program. So I wanted to come tonight at Kim's invitation because I know there's several new DDA board members that probably haven't seen this presentation, but even for those of you that have seen it before, just as a little refresh about what the Main Street program is, and then also what Laingsburg progress in Main Street has been so far. So we are part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, which is the state's economic development agency. And I always like to show this slide because it shows our strategic plan and our strategic focus areas. But really, Michigan Economic Development Corporation helps communities support and grow talent, attract and retain businesses, develop attractive places, market the state, support small businesses. And Michigan Main Street fits in every single one of those goals that MEDC has as an economic development agency. We also are part of the National Main Street Center. So Michigan Main Street is one state that's part of 45 state, city, or county coordinating programs that provide technical assistance, resources, and things like that to over 2,000 communities nationwide. The program started in the 1980s at the national level, and really it grew out of the decline of traditional downtowns because of things like suburbanization, people going away from rural downtown areas, or even urban downtown and commercial districts. But the National Main Street Center has since paved the way for the renaissance and revitalization of downtowns through the Main Street framework. Every year, we collect reinvestment statistics at the national and state level from the work happening locally in communities. So these are things like dollars being reinvested in the downtown district through building rehabilitations or facades getting redone, or even new businesses opening. So you can see net gain in jobs, net gain in businesses, but I really like to highlight the volunteer hours because this is really truly a locally grassroots driven program that utilizes volunteer hours to implement change within our downtowns. So Michigan Main Street then exists to help communities develop Main Street districts that attract residents and businesses, encourage local investment back into your downtown, but essentially building community ownership over your downtown, understanding what the community's vision is for downtown, and then giving a framework and a place for people to get involved in making that vision a reality. So we became a coordinating program in 2003. So a couple of years ago, celebrated our 20-year anniversary, which was very exciting. And in partnership with the National Main Street Center, we provide tailored technical assistance to Main Street communities throughout the entire state. These are things like branding. We have a communication plan service. We can help with business recruitment strategies. We do give a lot of different demographic and market data,
But we also help with board development and training, and we also can provide small business support as well. We also have 2 grant programs that our communities are eligible for. One is the Match on Main grant program, which is also available to essentials and certified redevelopment ready communities. But that is $25,000 to support small business growth in either rehabbing buildings or providing things like technology upgrades or point of sale systems, things like that. Our Main Street Vibrancy Grant is up to $15,000 to help support anything that's going to add vibrancy to your downtown. So I have several different examples of what that looks like later in the presentation. Our impact in Michigan then, similar to the national Main Street statistics, we track private investment, public investment, new businesses, facade and building improvements, and then also like to highlight all of the volunteer hours that have occurred just last year, but then the program to date numbers are also very impressive. This is our 2025 map of communities. So we have 22 that are fully designated at either the select or master level, but we have another 15 that are prospective communities, either at our lowest network level or where Laingsburg is at currently, the engaged level. So all over the state, we do have some holes we're working to fill in though. So Main Street really is a framework for, like I said, community-driven economic development that encourages downtown revitalization through historic preservation, because it's all about leveraging the unique historic character that you do have and building on that, and stakeholder engagement. Main Street is really unique because, as I mentioned before, it really provides that framework for others to be able to get involved in the work that the DDA is doing. The framework is comprehensive, so we want to make sure that you're working on all facets of downtown revitalization, not just marketing or small business support, but a combination of everything related to downtown revitalization. We want you to leverage existing assets. Those could be the building stock that you have, the businesses that you have, but also the partnerships that you have. Downtown revitalization takes all agencies, the city, any other community organizations, if there's a chamber, whether regional or local, any other partnerships that it could exist, helping leverage what they're working on and partnering with them to make it strong in Laingsburg. It's also a self-empowerment program. So like the Redevelopment Ready Communities program, we provide training and resources, but it's really about the community members and this board taking those training and resources and implementing them locally in a way that meets the needs that you have. The approach is also incremental. So we realize downtown revitalization is not going to happen overnight, but it's a series of small steps that you take that ultimately lead to economic growth in your downtown. It's also quality change making. So the community has to be willing to want to embrace change and make your downtown better, but it's about what are those quality changes that meet the community's vision for where your downtown wants to go. And then I think most importantly, the framework is implementation based. So it's not enough to have really great downtown plans or master plans. You really have to be working on, okay, what do those plans say? And how can we implement the steps incrementally over time? The way you do that through the Main Street approach is first and foremost understanding the community's vision for downtown. So we have a series of local surveys that we do of the leadership base and of the community members at large. So we can really understand what is that robust community vision for downtown? What types of businesses do they want to see? What type of development and public space improvements do they want to see? That type of thing. But then we also understand the market realities. So we provide you that demographic and market data so that you can see, okay, here's where people are spending money outside of the city. Perhaps maybe we can capture some of that if a new business opens that has product and service that they might want. So once we understand the vision and the market realities, we can then help you select a transformation strategy, which is really just a fancy word for an economic development strategy to guide the programming, planning, and investment that you're going to make in your downtown. Once you have your strategy, we can then help you with implementation and measurement of that strategy. So identifying all the projects you're going to work on, the partners and capital you're going to need to implement that selected strategy, but also what are the measures of success? How are you going to track your impact over time to make sure that you are moving that needle towards progress? And then I mentioned the approach is comprehensive. So everything that you do in Main Street is done in one or more of the Main Street 4 points. So economic vitality is really thinking about what are our existing economic assets? Is it the businesses? Is it properties that we have for redevelopment? What might those be and how can we leverage them to identify opportunities for strengthening them or for new development and growth? Design is about leveraging the unique historic character that you might have, but also creating an inviting district by doing building rehabs, facade rehabs, and placemaking in your downtown. Organization is where it starts with this board, building a really strong foundation to cultivate partnerships and resources for downtown revitalization. And then promotion is about communicating the value of your downtown through bringing people downtown through events, but also through marketing and branding and campaigns of that nature. So I mentioned we turned 20 a couple years ago. When we did an economic impact study of Main Street and the work that Main Street communities do. So you can see that there was a 445.6 million total economic impact of the work that Michigan Main Streets do throughout the entire state. So we supported about 4,000 plus jobs because of Main Street communities. We supported 239.6 million in business revenue attributable to the work that Main Street communities do by marketing and promoting their communities, but also the support that they provide directly to small businesses. And then 8.8 million of state tax revenue attributable to Main Street communities as well. So when it comes to the economic impact of Main Street related to attracting new businesses, that's 180.7 million and then about 2,000 jobs. And the work that Main Street communities do in that area is providing resources to current and prospective businesses. So whether that's education, training, or referrals to places like SBDC or the local chamber. Connecting places to outside financial resources, banks to get small business support loans, MEDC to get the Match on Main program, hosting networking and mentorship initiatives, direct financial support, assisting with business marketing efforts, and then also hosting their own entrepreneurship and incubator programs. So just some fun statistics, 94% of Main Streets prioritize business retention efforts over recruitment efforts. So that's helpful to think about when you think about local priorities as well. The economic impact of attracting more customers to local downtown businesses through marketing and promotion. Just some more fun statistics about what Main Street communities do for marketing and promotion. So 95% of Main Street businesses help bring customers to their local businesses through having a business directory online, doing social media posts to highlight what businesses offer. 100% of our Main Streets host events to get people to come downtown. That's always usually a no-brainer and an easy one. To understand, 4.2 million people attended Main Street events since 2003. 34% of Main Street event attendees come from outside the community. So when you think about marketing efforts, think about how to draw visitors from outside the community just as much as that 70% that's coming from inside the community. 13,000 people on average attend Main Street events put on by the Main Street community, and then 75 hours go into one Main Street event. So also take that into account that events are great for bringing people in, but also a huge capacity. The next section was revitalizing and preserving downtown commercial districts. So this accounts for about 24.6 million of total economic impact and then 123 jobs. And so what Main Street communities do to support preservation and revitalization is providing design services directly to property owners, connecting property owners and stakeholders to tax credits or the MEDC for local or state incentive programs. Connecting business and property owners with industry professionals. So making sure that there is a construction professional or an architect or designer that can come help them. And then providing grants for historic preservation and facade improvement as well. And then the last section we looked at was developing attractive, high quality places, which accounted for about $120 million of economic impact. And what Main Street communities do in this is executing landscape and beautification efforts, adding public art and murals throughout your downtown, installing or enhancing the wayfinding signage that you might have, hanging street banners downtown, adding bicycle infrastructure, and then doing community cleanup events. 14% of an average Main Street community's time is dedicated towards placemaking. And 100% of our communities obviously work to improve the public realm of their downtown. So I just like to highlight our economic impact because I think it gives a good description of all of the different work that Main Street communities do. So as you're getting started in Main Street, these are questions that you asked yourself to determine if pursuing the Main Street framework was right for your community. So I like to bring them up because it's always good to continue to check and make sure that the framework is still the way that you'd like to go. So does your potential district meet our standards for traditional downtown? Those are having 20 or more lot line buildings that are 50 years or older, because that's what designates historic or not. And then commercial in use. I drove through downtown. It absolutely meets that by far. So it's a great downtown, fantastic resource. Is historic preservation important to local citizens and stakeholders? Similarly, is downtown revitalization a community priority? Do you want to leverage human and financial resources in support of your downtown? And also, do you want to work with public and private sector stakeholders to build that broad-based community support for your downtown? So sometimes communities going through the program can answer yes to all but one question. At this stage, it's helpful to know if there is a no on here, so that way we can work on strategies, communication planning, building volunteer resources to move a no to a yes. But it's always good to just continue to look back at these because these set a solid foundation for your organization and for Main Street efforts.
Does Main Street have any restrictions or anything on historical sites?
No,
That's all based by us or
Yes.
whoever, wherever you're at.
correct. So we are rooted in historic preservation, so we want to see that there is that preservation ethic, but we're not going to come and say you can or can't do that to your local building. That's a local decision. If you had a local historic ordinance, that would be up to you. We don't require that you have a local historic ordinance at all. A lot of our communities are on the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They're registered nationally because that's what opens up tax credits for property owners,
Right.
but there's no teeth with that either. Sometimes when there are rehab projects that are using state incentives, the State Historic Preservation Office will get involved. But that's just to make sure that the rehab is following the Secretary of Interior standards, which are available online. But participating in the program doesn't mean that you have to follow any of those.
Okay.
We would just rather see a building be preserved versus torn down. Okay, so some goals of participating in Main Street at this stage as you're learning about it, kind of working towards an eventual select level application, if that's the designation you'd like to go for, are familiarizing yourself and key stakeholders with what the Main Street approach is. You get access to tools that will help you build awareness for what you're trying to do as a DDA, but also access to future resources to help your Main Street programming down the line. You'll work to identify local stakeholders and strategies to engage them so that it's not just people around the table working on Main Street, but how do you begin to bring volunteers in and how do you begin to bring other partners to the table? And then you also join a statewide network that I showed earlier of Main Street communities that are doing this work locally as well. So since some of you have seen this presentation, we've added a new level. So this is new information. So we have 4 levels for the Michigan Main Street program. The first is the network level. That's a no commitment level. That's for communities that are looking for additional resources, but not full Main Street designation because of reasons like lacking capacity or political desire. Some communities just want access to resources, but don't have the political desire to be fully designated, and that's totally fine. The second level is the engaged level. That's about a 1 to 3 year commitment. And that's for communities that are on track. They know they want to become fully designated a Michigan Main Street program and a Main Street America program. In order to do that, communities will work on completing an application to the select level. The select level is a 5-year commitment, and that's where you really start implementing the full Main Street approach. You'll start a little bit at the engaged level through all of the different tasks that you do to have a successful application. But at the select level is where you receive outside third-party technical assistance to support your downtown revitalization efforts. At the engaged level, you get to work with me and the rest of the Main Street staff on working towards those priorities. And then once you're successful at the select level, you have the opportunity to move up to the master level, which is a 2+ year commitment. You just renew it every other year. But you can stay in that master level for as long as you'd like. Boyne City has been a program for 20 years along with us. So communities that have completed the select level and met the national accreditation standards set by Main Street America are at the master level. So not only do we have standards at the select level that you will meet, but we'll also work with you to meet those best practices set by Main Street America as well.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So we're in the engaged levels,
Mhm.
and that's 1 to 3 years, and we're shooting to try to go to the select level.
Correct.
If we decide not to go there, we can actually go back to the next.
Absolutely. Yep.
What do we lose?
Yeah, that is my next slide. So let's just jump to that. So this slide just is the checklist of what you've done up until now to get to where you're at. So to be at the network and engage level, the first 3 steps are the same. You've completed your community interest form, you've completed your downtown scorecard, and then you also submit progress reports due June and December. So those baseline requirements are the same between the 2 levels. The engage level, we also have an online training series that some of you have probably taken. We want to see 80% or more board members go through that. It's also a really good tool to be able to orient new board members that come on and say, here is the approach that we're using, and here are some steps for downtown revitalization. That training is free and available whether or not you decide to become fully designated or not. If you're stay at the network level, I would still recommend having your board members take that. We do have downtown forums at the engage level that you're also available to participate in at the network level. It's just more of a requirement, quote unquote, at the engage level. And then we also want you to, at the engage level, identify and establish what is your Main Street organization, the DDA board, and then what would be your district. To get to the select level, again, you complete that Main Street application. We do require you to hire a full-time executive director. Maintain an active downtown or district board. So maintaining this board is a working board. So not just coming to your 1 time a month meeting, but really working to implement projects outside of this meeting, which could be an extra 4 to 6 hour commitment a month, just depending on how busy you are with projects. We want you to have a dedicated budget. So your DDA budget would just be the Main Street budget is really how it works. And then you submit progress reports due monthly. And then you attend our workshops and then meet those accreditation standards by year 5. So the difference in services at the different levels. So network level, really you get the virtual technical assistance from myself and the other Main Street staff that we have based on your downtown scorecard and the Solution Center resources that we have. You can also attend those downtown forums, which are networking and training that are also provided virtually to communities. At the engage level, I meet with engage level communities on a cadence that works for you. So for Laingsburg, it's been probably quarterly, I would say, up to maybe every other month. We also do virtual or community site visits when you're ready to apply. We do a pre-application site visit, and then we'll also work with you on asset mapping so that you can be ready for when national comes in to do your transformation strategy selection. Then at the select level is where all of those other technical assistance services I listed off, those will come into play based on what your strategy is, what your local priorities are, and then helping you meet those accreditation standards. And then you can see the master level is similar, except for there's more sophisticated services that they have access to. So for the Main Street online training, just some best practices for that. If you do decide that full designation is something you would like to aim for, don't solely rely on one person to complete it. Again, aim for 80% of your board to complete that. Start the process of building your Main Street program in your community. That's what the training is really going to help you learn, is how to start the process. It's going to help you define roles and responsibilities for your organization and potential partners. It'll give you strategies to recruit and engage others to help you sustain a volunteer base. And then it's going to help you develop tools to help implement some fundraising strategies so that you're not just relying on the money that you bring in through the DDA TIF. And then you'll also learn some best practices for downtown revitalization efforts. So I wanted to just remind you, or for new board members, let you know that there is a downtown scorecard that the board has completed. And it highlights different performance measures in 8 different categories. And it was a self-assessment. So the board went through and said, here's how we think we're doing on all of these performance measures. But what it also can do is help set priorities. So what are the things that are more low-hanging fruit that the board feels like they could work on over the next 1 to 3 years? So there's a business category, a real estate category, an events category, a marketing, a preservation place, capacity, which is the largest because it's also very foundational, and then people. So how do you train, recruit, orient new volunteers and board members that come on to your organization? So the last page of it was the board went through and asked, okay, what are our greatest strengths? What are our greatest challenges or needs? And then you also identified 5 key areas you want to work on. And as part of that, developed these 5 goals. So decreasing vacancies in the district, implementing a community marketing strategy with current market data and community input to help prioritize downtown or promote and advertise downtown Laingsburg, expanding beautification efforts, diversifying funding for the DDA and organization, and then defining clear roles and responsibilities for the board, potential volunteers, staff, and other key stakeholders. So a lot of what I talked about ended up coming through as the goals that the board had set from that exercise. So I did want to just highlight that we do have the Main Street Solution Center. So this is an online resource. It's free to access. You'll see on the right that each one of the 8 categories I mentioned has a drop down. So if you're looking for a particular resource about business recruitment efforts, you would just go to the business section and look for business recruitment. So anything that's come through as a priority on your scorecard, you can find a resource to help get you started right already on the Solution Center. And then my last slide is the value of Main Street participation. So we get asked all the time, what is the value of this framework? Really, it provides a proven methodology for how to help with setting sustainable revitalization efforts. It also engages the community in the future of downtown. So not only will you have this board, but the Main Street framework also allows you to set subcommittees, which are easy ways for volunteers to filter in and provide their skills and expertise. It allows you to proactively manage the market rather than relying on someone coming in and external forces. So when you have that market data and understanding of what the community wants to see in downtown, you can start to be proactive to try and get that person to come or to try and get that business to open. It also provides you access to tailored technical assistance, outside experts, plus that national network of communities. And then it helps drive economic growth by revitalizing businesses, attracting new investments, increasing foot traffic and local spending, and really making the district a hub for social and economic activity. So that is the presentation. I wanted to also show, as part of the Engage level, we have this Excel document, which is the Engage level work plan, and it highlights all of the tasks that you do in order to have a successful application. They're broken down by things to do for the organization, things to do for your Main Street area, how to set your Main Street budget, how to work on engaging stakeholders, and then how to share projects, programs, and initiatives and successes that you've had. So when Olivia was here, your community development fellow, she had made all of these notes and made some progress on what was completed, where it lives on Google Docs and things like that. And then she also went through and highlighted what were priorities. So creating subcommittees was one priority for the board to try to get people to try to expand the board's capacity. So creating subcommittees, typically communities have one subcommittee for each one of those 4 points. So you would have a committee that works on business development efforts. You would have a committee that works on design efforts, one that works on promotion, so events and marketing, and then one that works on organization, so fundraising and volunteer recruitment. So that is definitely one of the next steps that would be a priority. should you decide that full designation is what you would want to do, or to help the board with building capacity and adding new people as one of your goal states. Completing a building and business inventory. So as part of the application, we do want to see a completed building and business inventory, but that's to help you understand who's in your downtown, what property owners, what business owners. It helps you have just a list of emails and people in your downtown. But then we also like to set baseline statistics of what's your vacancy rate right now, what business niches do you have, or what kind of clusters of businesses do you have right now? Can just help set a good baseline.
Can these only be in our district?
The businesses?
Yes.
Yes, so the building and business inventory would be for like the entire DDA district.
Okay.
But if you were doing a training or something, you could certainly invite a business that was outside of
Outside
the
the
district, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so then under Main Street budget, one of the items was developing a sponsorship and pledge form. So we do have examples of that, but one of your goals is to fundraise. We have lots of resources on the Solution Center about that. And then, like I said, some sample sponsorship and pledge forms that you could use. And then engaging stakeholders, that's one of the biggest ones, is building more capacity for your organization. So we have a whole engage level toolkit that has communication tools in it to help you build that awareness and to help get volunteers to populate some of your subcommittees. So that is the progress that you've made, I guess. Sharing highlights of successful projects and programming. So if you have a social media page, how are you sharing the work that the board's doing to get people interested and to start building that momentum? And then for the select level application itself, is really just completing the narrative questions. So what questions might you have?
What's the smallest community you've had enter this?
Grayling, they have a population of like 1,500 or maybe even less. Yeah. And Everett is also very
I
small.
thought of it
Mhm.
small.
Yeah, yep. But nationally, there are communities of 500 that use the Main Street approach, and I think it's probably everyone in their town is on the Main Street board or participates. What other questions? So when I've been talking with Kim, really some of the next steps, and like I said, we do virtual check-ins on a cadence that works for you. So on our last check-in, it was like, okay, let's have this presentation and set some of the next steps by showing you the engage level work plan, but then really setting those subcommittees up. So that way on the virtual check-ins, it's not just Kim, it's a couple of committee chairs too, right? So I think that could be a really good next step, is seeing if that's a structure that you want to put in place and then finding volunteers to be those committee chairs.
Yeah, that was what, like, what people had questions about was like what exactly those jobs are.
Yeah,
As being the head of the committee.
right.
When one of our things on the agenda tonight is we were trying to put it together a beer tent to raise money.
Mhm.
We need a committee to run that,
Totally.
so that's,
That would be like,
yeah,
that would be probably like the promotion committee that would run events. And so the beer tent fundraiser could be the first event that that committee works on.
okay.
In the engage level guide, we have an outline of what the committees do on a monthly and annual basis. So those 4 committees I mentioned, there's ideas for projects on what to do monthly and annually. We also have a new committee guide that we just created that has roles and responsibilities for committee chairs. So those are pages I can just send you
Okay,
that can be distributed, but
Okay.
they kind of outline, okay, here's generally what those committees would work on. And then the committee chair is really just responsible for running the monthly meeting. And then putting together things like a work plan or a task list for here's all the things we need to do for our beer tent fundraiser, or here are things we need to do for our beautification project we want to do this summer.
They're
Whatever.
gonna bring that back to this committee
Yep,
and presentate to move on
Absolutely.
to whatever it is that we're like the beer tent.
absolutely. So the way the process works is this board, I think, would identify 1 or maybe 2 projects for each one of those subcommittees that get set up. So you as a board would identify that. And then the committee would go and be responsible for implementing those projects and then report back to you on progress and things like that.
Okay.
Sometimes the committee comes up with different projects and ideas itself that they would present back to you as, here's an idea. After our beautification project is done, we also thought about this. Then it's up to this board to understand if you have the human and financial capacity to be able to do that project. And if not, that committee could also fundraise for the project itself. But this board is always the board that makes the final decision. And then the committees just help you implement those ideas.
Makes sense.
That's what Karen.
Yeah. Yes, not so
Nobody
scary.
was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, I
Right.
don't wanna do it.
Yeah. Typically, we have, communities that are just getting started, like sometimes board members are the committee chair, just to have that extra layer of communication and things like that. But if you already have a really strong volunteer that's been working with you, they could also be a committee chair. Because it's also a good pipeline for new board members too, when you have turnover, is to have someone that's already been engaged with the organization.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions on potential next steps?
Anybody? Good to go.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I'll
Appreciate
send those pages over to Kim just so you can see, like, here's what a committee chair would do, and then hopefully we can set up another meeting and those folks will be identified. Do you feel like right now that you still want to pursue full designation over time, or are you thinking that potentially stepping back to like the network level would be something, or is that something you want to ruminate over?
There's no harm in trying it.
Absolutely.
I
Like,
the
if we
idea, yeah,
totally, you know.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't we try?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
guess is what I'm
absolutely.
wondering.
See,
absolutely.
I think that was part of the question before that. I think that's why everybody was like, okay, well, let's try it, because there's no harm, no foul.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it's only gonna help you make better,
Let's
right?
see.
Right.
At
Yes.
least it doesn't give you guys tools to do and do more,
Yeah.
you know.
And I understand in some of the things, and some that we've touched on, I think
Yeah.
committees and some of the
Yeah.
meetings we've had, but one of the questions that this makes it a little more clear. So you can assign a committee chair, the DDA can assign or take a request from anyone, and that can be probably more than likely to start as someone from the board.
Yeah.
Is that person then responsible for like creating the group?
They could be,
Like-
but it's also like the full board's responsibility.
Okay.
So it's not just.
You're not.
Yeah,
like,
don't feel
saying,
like, oh, I
If
signed up.
someone,
Yeah, I
Okay.
signed up to be the design committee, now it's all on me, like, no. If the work, okay, so pretend you did say, I'm gonna be the design committee chair and I have 2 projects.
Mhm.
Well, if it's just you trying to do those 2 projects and they're not successful, it's not just on you, it's on the full board
But
and
if no one
organization.
else wants to do it too, then I could say, oh, I have these 2 people, random people, and I
Yeah.
can create that,
Yeah, then you could create that little group.
and then I report back.
Mhm.
But this also adds time, if the board is the final say in kind of
Yeah.
all your little ideas and this and that, then you have to equate for time to create it, time to brainstorm it, time to bring it back, time to
Yeah.
execute.
Yeah,
So you could essentially, being that our board only meets once a month, sort of have to be a little bit planned out.
it has to be more planned out, but that's also
more
the
organized.
benefit, right? Yeah, it's more organized, but that is the benefit, is because you have limited financial resources,
Yeah.
right? And so it helps hold volunteers accountable
Mhm.
to the board, but also helps hold yourselves accountable of like, is this really what we want to use our limited resources on? But it just is a little bit more organized.
Yeah.
Can take a little more time, but if the board already sets like, these are the projects we want to work on in these 4 areas, then it's just back to the committee of like, okay, now go and put a plan together to execute. And you have $5,000 in your budget,
Mhm.
and we want to see progress on tasks and where the money's been spent.
It makes a lot more sense the second time around.
Yeah.
If anybody else felt that way?
That's
Because the first time we watched that, I was like, what is?
What is going
what's that
on?
mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I didn't mention too, so participating in the program at any level is free to communities. The only thing that we require at the select level is having that full-time executive director and then the budget for 5 years. But there's nothing saying what your budget has to be, right? Grayling's budget was 90,000. We have some communities that have a 200,000 budget. We can make it work. You can make it work locally with whatever budget that you might have.
But you can only do that after you've hired or you do hire.
Yeah,
And the city can be a partner with you in hiring this person.
absolutely. So we have a
The
lot
one we
of,
went to before.
Yeah.
The city and them split,
Yep.
where they had a package deal where the
DDA was paying the wages and then the benefits package or whatever came from the city and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a partnership and a lot more and more we're seeing that the executive director is actually a city employee. It's just a more sustainable role. And it also, we're trying to build our DDA directors to be economic development professionals. And so having that more stable, sustainable role of being a city employee, being a department head is good for their professional development because the turnover of our directors has been like 2.5 years. And you all know that you can't get projects done in 2.5 years. The engaged level, like I said, it's 1 to 3 years, but if it takes longer, it takes longer. We're not going to kick you out. We're not going to say, oh, it's been 3 years, time to go back. We'll work with you on the timeline that works. And then to get to the select level, you can submit an application without a full-time director on board. We will give you 6 months at the beginning of the select level to hire that person. We just want to see that there's a budget for them. So this is something that you ever did that. And they hired the director after they became a select level community. So there's lots of different options.
Their budget was 90, you said?
That was Grayling's budget.
Yeah.
Everett's is not much larger than that. Yeah. But
You
they
say
do
the smaller communities don't have these ginormous budgets.
No, they don't. And Todd, he's the executive director in Everett. He is actually like the assistant city manager / economic development professional. So that's also an option is like, if the community hired a community development person, that person could also fill the role of Main Street director.
Key to that too, though, is in that situation that they can go get a lot of money. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right,
they pay for themselves.
yes, totally,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah,
By bringing
By
in grants and
generating,
the knowledge
right.
that they have, yeah, absolutely.
So Everett has a full-time and how long have they been select?
Everett's been select for 5 years. I think they just moved up to the master level. Yeah. All right, that is all the other nuggets I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Well, I'll be. Yeah.
Thank you.
some of these committees that or that we're talking about even. The beer tent one or whatever else that we may be taking on. Probably pretty good idea to start thinking about that, like. So next month. We talk about it more extensively about putting some type of committees together. Whether it be one person takes one thing on or one even takes a couple things on, depending on however you guys want to work it. Again, I'm not gonna be here much longer. I'm vacating, so. I'm gonna make sure that this park project gets done, and I don't know if that's gonna be a committee. I could make it one.
Right, I mean, that could be.
And I've
part of
I've already talked to the concrete guy, I've already talked to Boyd, who's gonna help me do, and we're gonna take care of that, and then I'm kind of. So. I'll see how they go from there.
So I'm
but-
hiding the. No. How I'm hiding the stuff until
Yeah,
I can stay.
yeah, there we go. I
I
don't know where it is.
I'm already way over. Yeah, way over anyway. So think about that, if you're interested in any of, I think it's less. Scary now, knowing that if you were to become a committee head person, you could go get some friends.
Mhm.
And put whatever little project it is that we want to try to accomplish together, have your meeting down at 2 Acres or at your house, have a couple beers and go over, get yourself a list and go over what it is you're trying to get accomplished and get it started. And then bring it back to the board and say, this is our idea, this is what we want to do. And, we're gonna take the bull by the horns and try to go after it.
So there's 4 committees. Do we have information on what each one of these committees?
Yeah. that's
do
what I
with
was
it?
gonna say.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
good,
I think
okay.
Each one has a 1-pager and then we also have annual and monthly roles.
Okay.
And I'll email it to you guys when I get it.
Perfect.
Yeah, then that way you'll have it and kind of know what the list is that you're supposed to try to accomplish.
Perfect.
And I think you creating a committee, or there being a committee created for like the pocket park
Right.
deal wouldn't be a bad idea.
Then at least it might
ASBL
give like a,
The committee also like is more organized.
Is it not, I'm sorry, isn't that more of a project within one of the 4 committees? So there's a committee.
Yes.
Right.
Where it's called the community
It's all in design.
design and
okay,
beautification,
yeah,
whatever the heck.
Design is, yeah, design.
So then
beautification.
that group would glean from him information so that when he does say, to heck with you guys, someone's really understanding the. vision,
some of the
yeah,
format of how to do it too.
And
agreed,
there's a little bit more accountability as well,
Right.
along with it.
yeah.
I gotta get this done.
And when you're
I want
meeting
to.
outside of here,
Right.
you're bringing someone along to kind of figure out how all that works and the questions you ask and versus assuming you'll always be here to do well.
Yeah.
I think we want to be careful to not make projects committees. that
Yeah.
we
That's
have-
true.
we
A
have
committee
committees,
be
and then
involved
there's a
in the
project-
park.
Right, and
Yeah.
the projects all, the
Agreed.
projects or events all roll
Versus
up
like the
to
beer
the
tent
committee. Right,
committee, no.
yeah,
that's not
instead of
such a
beer
thing.
tent committee, it's
And I'm assuming like, I'm walking in on the beer tent conversation though, is that being multiple committees possibly involved in that?
Yeah, it's like promoting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there could be
It
more than
seemed like
one
the,
of
that
the
one might be
pie.
the lead of
doing
it,
the-
Yeah.
and the others.
The development.
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing when you were going over this.
Okay. Does anyone in the audience have anything they need out there? No? All right, I guess we'll move forward from there then. Match on Main,
So we already had a meeting, that flyer is what the meeting was for the businesses who wanted to know more information, so that was very informative. Kids come speak on the board were there. It's the first one that they've had, this is. The match on Main is now being funded differently. It's not coming from the money's not coming from the same place. I do think, that's the way it makes it sound, but it's only once a year. So, that's gonna make it more competitive. So that was kind of the information that, was given the night of the meeting. I think it was a pretty productive meeting, I think, especially for the people who've never heard of Match on Main. So they have a deadline to get their stuff to me.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
So can we, so I was told that, for you guys, your deadline is moved out a little bit, so can we have our deadline be to you a little bit later?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, I talked to Emily.
Well, they moved
And
it further?
she, yeah,
Oh.
I think it's April
April 7th.
sixth
Oh,
or seventh,
oh, yeah, then definitely we'll. move
because
it.
yeah, I'm like, trying to, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm about
That's
that.
Same here, same here.
Oh, so yeah, cause it was March something,
Was-
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
March,
Yeah,
'Cause ours was
definitely. I
February
will-
14th.
yes,
I will.
because it was March,
Yep.
so if we can move it back out a little
Ooh.
past
Yeah,
that.
we'll probably, if it's in April, then we'll probably do what our deadline was, March, whatever.
Okay,
I can't remember what,
March 7th.
11th or something like that, yeah.
for us to get to you.
Yeah, but I'll send out an email to all you
Okay.
guys to let you know for sure the date and. Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know.
Probably-
Okay.
I didn't know about that.
You probably can't answer that, but, or this, but with a new president and a new, you have no idea of what may happen. So it's good through this year and we know that.
Yeah,
And
I think Match on, well, Kim's right, Match on Main used to be funded with MEDC as like quasi-governmental, so we have corporate and state monies. So it used to be funded with our corporate dollars, which come from tribal gaming revenues. Now it comes from state dollars, which comes from legislature. So we still have 1.5 million this year. Next year, I don't know what's gonna happen and with the new governor and things like that. So I
Right.
would definitely continue to work with the program as we have it, but I don't foresee it going away.
yeah,
But you never know.
you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
Question, with it being once a year now, is it still that?
You can still submit to business.
And only 2?
Only,
Yep.
Okay.
And only
it's the amount of
one
money.
from the
Okay.
town can get it.
only one.
Yep.
Typically, that's what we say. We like to have regional distribution throughout the state. So typically we only award one per community.
and once one has been awarded to that one person or business, they're,
They're ineligible for other rounds, yes.
correct, okay.
Oh, that's gonna make. Not next month. That's why I was anticipating bringing them here
Them here.
next month and deciding it'll go another
The
month.
following one.
Yeah.
Okay. Get the paperwork together to get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in March, you guys will have to do this. On what meeting.
Do you have like a roster from that meeting or whatever that you were able to let them, the people that attended know?
No. What information do you want?
No, like the deadline was extended?
Oh, yes, I do. I know all the good stuff. I've got. I send all.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah. That's how they find out about.
Maybe that scared people on the 14th to know they only had until,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Well, now that I know.
which maybe they'll
You
change
get
their
an
mind.
email somewhere.
In the presentation was a vibrancy grant. Is that part of the? Is that part
That's
of?
part of the select level, and
Okay.
that can fund things like placemaking projects, so Lapierre's done wayfinding, banners, trash cans, they put chess tables down. We've done decorations, so lighting for the holiday season, we've also done business incubator and entrepreneurship programs, so it's a really loose term on vibrancy, anything in one of the 4 points that you feel like would add vibrancy, like even a marketing and promotion campaign. And funding for that is also always changing based on the MEDC's budget. That does come from the corporate dollars, but even the corporate dollars have been strapped, so we had to take a budget cut for that this year too, because it used to be 25,000, now it's only 15,000.
So that pocket park, you could literally go get
Grant
a couple of the
funding.
things
Yeah.
for that pocket park
Right,
and not
if
have it
we
come
were at
directly
that
out of
level.
our
Right.
pocket,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what that falls into. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I mean, it makes sense.
Mhm.
Try to. Let's wait on the beer tent and jump, logo options. They have 3 to choose from, correct? Is that right?
Wasn't it the
Three
three
or
were,
Or is it 4?
what in the one? Oh,
They have to give it to me, so.
I was thinking this was motion one.
Yeah, there's 4.
This was-
Whatever. Minor, I don't know.
I like 1 and 3.
Which one's your one?
Which one's
one?
one?
Yeah.
In order, the downtown, the circle, and then, the black one. With the teal letter, and then,
Page 13 was the number.
so this is 1 and 2.
1 and 2, because that.
Yeah.
12.
That's what I was counting, is 1 and 2,
That's 2.
Then
and then
page
3.
13 would be 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
This is 4.
the drawing is, yeah.
Good.
I like 1 and
The
3.
number 4 is actually our downtown.
Is
I
it?
say it,
Oh,
isn't that-
here it is. Okay, so.
Number 1,
Facing the wrong
You
way.
can see the
was-
pocket.
yeah, number
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, I agree.
is very, very close to the city.
Mhm.
So keep in mind that very close. So distinguishing it
Mhm.
could, get lost.
Did you draw that?
Nope, I stepped back on this one. I let the other 2 girls do it.
I like 1, just because you can see it. Like the city. 4, good, but the Laingsburg, you're driving down, looking at it. Just a little bit.
Well, the number 1 is what you see on our.
Right,
That's the exact.
That's on our sign, that's
exact
everything,
same
right.
thing.
out front,
And
yep,
we're trying to make it different.
Well, you want it to be, I mean, I don't want it to be looked over as that's a city emblem, or
right.
that's a city, so. That's the only.
Our biggest
thing
problem, I
I'm-
think, in the last 30 years has been that no one knows who we are.
Right,
No matter what we've done, no one still knows
exactly,
who we are.
Yeah.
Or what you do.
yeah, exactly.
so number,
And we've done a ton of stuff and no one has a clue that we've done.
number
it.
4 here is going up the hill.
Correct.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
Looking at
This
it
side
that
of the
way.
table,
Yeah.
it's the wrong direction.
That's the wrong direction.
yeah, it's like the opposite of what, yeah, the other one is like the top of it.
The reason I like that one the best is because the DEA is
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
But is there a way on this one? I like this one too, but can we change Laingsburg to instead of cursive, just make it like a bold?
Yep.
So it's easier to read.
Yep,
And
you
then
can-
also
You can move and change
underneath
anything.
the downtown development, I love this. Making downtown beautiful.
Yep.
It just gives that, lets
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
know what
That's what we're
we're
doing,
trying to do.
I like
Yep.
that.
I do
like that.
too.
Because now you just, like Mark was saying, you just look at DDA, okay, downtown development.
Right.
What do we do?
Right.
Well,
But at least it's out there
Right.
because it's
Making
never,
downtown
but then the people that don't
No,
know, they can
are-
say,
can
say,
making
right.
downtown beautiful. That's
Right.
what
Yep.
we're striving to do.
Yeah, and you could, I mean, you can switch to, like, you can put the DD up here and Laingsburg down here. I mean, you can move any of these things around.
We could even make that color.
If you
Yeah,
wanted,
put a little more color.
yeah, if you wanted it to be the color of the buildings, you can color those in and.
Go
And
out
this
first
will be,
before you lock it.
this will be on your Facebook page. You know, we'll put this on your Facebook page. This will be on all your newsletters so that people recognize it.
I like that.
let's pick the emblem first and then tweak it from there.
I like 4.
I can dig it.
I mean, like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's
I could be persuaded. I could be persuaded.
Four-
But
four's our-
it
four's
looks
our
really
thing.
dated to me.
4's our deal. What do we want to do to tweak it? So,
Well, I think DDA looks like fire department.
yeah, okay.
A different font.
Especially in red.
Yeah,
Not red.
It looks like it-
Change the color.
when I look at it, I just think it looks like the fire department sign or something like.
Let's-
it.
Let's put color in the picture,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
We're coloring
On
the
the
buildings and making the
Yeah.
tree a tree and so on and so forth. So we're gonna color the picture.
Could you take it within 2 and kind of adapt it?
The
onto
Laingsburg?
4?
I love the black. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I like the black one.
I really like
And-
this, like, well. I feel like a cool sticker or cool.
Maybe have that
Like
color
all
be
that.
Laingsburg and the DDA. Isn't
Why
that
not,
great?
like you said, like on the bottom, like making.
Like
it-
full,
Oh, for
like,
sure.
put Laingsburg in place of something.
So. What do you want now?
The
I just
block
think
letter
the black-
Laingsburg, right?
Black.
Instead of having it cursive.
I like that, but that's just my
It would be
opinion.
like,
not
if
cursive.
you took like this
So. just
and
put the
replaced that into that.
Black letters.
This looks like 2 kindergarten or 2 school.
Yeah, I don't like that.
So,
Okay, yeah,
Block letters.
block
In
letter.
black.
or you have something like
I guess they need to,
bigger Laingsburg,
I like that.
stands out more
That's
You
me.
could arch underneath the Laingsburg
down here.
Downtown Development Authority.
And then having them making,
Top and
what Mike
making at the
said,
bottom.
Laingsburg
making
at the
downtown
bottom.
beautiful.
I like that. So if this were at the bottom. Thing, something like this, the arch of this. Would be at the top of this.
Okay,
Tell me if I'm wrong.
so.
And then Laingsburg at the bottom. I
So you
like
want
that.
Yeah, she's
the,
asking you. to
this
do that.
part, this downtown development authority up at the top,
Yeah. Block Laingsburg.
and then,
From like this, from number 2.
okay, then do you want Laingsburg there too? Like underneath
At
it?
the bottom,
it's
right,
block.
On the DDA.
I think
but
it's
different font.
too.
Right,
Yeah,
in the, and
I don't know, this font is cool, but it's just depending on how.
I don't know about that
Small
cursive.
you
I
got?
mean, I think it looks neat, but by the time it's small and.
Just something that isn't fire department rather
Right.
than fire department font.
Kids won't even know what it says.
so you want the downtown
Unfortunately,
development authority at the
that's-
top with
We'll
block
leave you the
letters.
block.
2 drugs,
So
yeah.
almost like she's saying, take this picture and stick it in this, get rid of the cursive.
Okay,
And then somehow give us Laingsburg in a block caps font.
okay, all right,
I kind of.
and then
think-
color.
Ooh, buddy. Buddy, buddy. You're not built for that.
I'm safe.
Go to the office.
There we go.
So the building's color,
Yeah.
correct?
yeah, color.
Color
it,
that
yeah.
in. All right, and then this. I'm just gonna put making downtown.
I'm gonna awful.
Yeah.
So basically
something
that
along that
one,
line.
this
I almost
is-
did it in
okay.
my chair. but this-
Got it?
I'm like,
You sure?
I gotta get a new chair.
Okay.
So you'll just set that to them and they'll send it back to us and we can approve. it.
Danielle designed that.
Oh,
And I was by myself.
very little tweaking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
she can do it right here.
Yeah,
All right,
she'll go
cool.
back and
All right.
Clever. Impressive.
That's it there, that. Tom Communications, Sleepy Hollow ad.
Okay, so.
We decided not to do it or?
Well, we were going to, but we wanted to know what exactly we're gonna get, seeing how they're closed.
Right.
Well, now we're not doing it because they're like, oh, yeah, why would you do that?
Right.
We're not doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, that saved us a couple bucks.
Yes.
All right. But they determined that,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're like,
that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Why would you spend money on something we're not
pretty
gonna
much,
use?
because we weren't for sure if there was like some part of it still open and that they were gonna, you know.
I think it's open until August. Right? Did I
I
read
think
that
it's
wrong?
even longer than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
I'm
still
not
open all summer.
well,
I-
like, that's what we were wondering, but
Yeah,
it
that's
sounds
so.
like that nothing as far as.
Work is gonna be through the summer.
Yes,
Through the summer.
Yeah.
Why did I hear August?
that might be when it opens back up. I don't know.
There's a
Oh.
different timeline for the work they're doing at the boat launch.
Depending
and
on
the
what's-
campground.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ah,
And
okay.
our, mainly our advertising was with the campground, and I think
Uh-huh.
there's nothing gonna be
Okay.
going on there, so.
The DDA audit invoice, just, you needed to check with that or whatever.
Yeah,
Which you
I guess
did
it is,
that, right?
it's higher.
1,075.
That's what I thought. That's what I saw.
Yeah, so, do we need a vote?
No.
Okay.
It's
To
not-
go to the city? Nay.
Music in the park.
I just put it on here, I brought it up at the last meeting about, I think there was $1,000 set aside for the music in the park, I just wanted to make sure. That that was still,
We talked about this last time.
we did,
Okay,
and we said to put it on the agenda.
okay. It is in the budget.
I say it's in now, why not?
It's
So I'll just send an invoice and.
Yeah,
We're not doing as many weeks this year though, right?
How did you do that?
I thought I heard that at the last meeting. I thought you told us.
No, I didn't say anything
Oh,
about,
okay.
we got Summerfest, we got
Okay.
weeks of. It's always, the fall is always, we don't know totally, because of Sadie Bass, and we'll do in the fall.
what's the, how'd you get a new bid on the sign?
She, yeah.
She just asking for another.
Mhm. Yeah, but that one was in the summer, so now it's been 30 days, but it's just over 30 days. So it's the closest we have.
The reason we discussed that was whether or not to buy it or
Right.
just wait until they finish the parking lot completely. And the parking lot to be finished is who knows when.
Well, we're
really.
having a meeting, so that's progress.
Yes. Talking Friday.
About
The park.
the park,
The
the parking lot.
Yes. We're gonna talk to Chaz.
So maybe we should just wait still. I don't really wanna, we don't really wanna, we could put it up probably, but we don't want it damaged while they're finishing it.
Right.
And we don't wanna store it,
No, it makes no
but
sense. to
but we
me.
don't want it to go up $10,000.
Right.
Well,
But-
I don't know exactly what it went up from, it did go up.
no, it
No.
was 20. It didn't go up.
It went down a little bit.
It went
Yeah,
down.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say.
That's what I was
I-
amazed.
yeah.
I think we'll wait another month.
You see if it goes down a little further.
But it did go down. So we'll wait and see what they determine or what the city comes up with.
Can I ask a question on that? When that sign goes up in the parking lot, is there gonna be anything around to keep somebody from accidentally backing into that sign? Or anything with their car, or are we just gonna leave it open?
It should be around, curved around it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it
So
doesn't
like
mean-
have to go up over a
Yes,
curve.
yes.
It's supposed to be a green belt.
Doesn't
Yeah.
mean it can't get hit. Hence, the sign out here was out in the field and it got hit, so, I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah, that was definitely.
It wasn't just me.
Finally, getting repaired.
So we'll just wait on the sign. The beer tent list.
So I just kind of put this list together and fixed everything. Was kind of like, I just kind of made the bold is kind of categories and anything underneath it. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more to add, but thought that would get us started.
It's the best way to do it because you'll forget something no matter what, and if you don't, at least have it in front of you to check it off.
Right.
I mean,
I could have went way more detailed, but I thought I would let you guys, get into the details of it and kind of just, okay, this is what the main stuff we have to have.
So if we decided if we're gonna have it as Friday night or Saturday night. The reason I ask is I'm starting to put the applications for Art Walk. And last year we had it a 2-day, people left their stuff over there. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to do that. If we're having it. So I kind of need to know at some point if we're doing Friday night or Saturday. For me to start doing the artists.
I can't remember what you guys talked about.
I think we talked about, Friday night, and then we are talking about two nights, and then we're saying. no,
Yeah, I just said one,
We
right,
absolutely have to be
Saturday.
one first. to Get it.
Try out.
Right, trial and error.
It said, I think we thought Saturday.
Saturday,
Because
better.
because there wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably Saturday night, I would think also. That gives you time. Friday night, if you got a job, you got work, you got
5
kids,
p.m.,
whatever,
like that.
Saturday night is at least
Well,
on the
what
Well,
weekend.
we
time-
talked about keeping everybody down.
What
here,
time
too.
are you talking about starting? All day,
Like a 1 p.m. or-
nighttime? 5 o'clock? When are
Yes,
you starting?
yes, yes. All those things have not been answered, none of them have, actually.
From doing this in the past. It's gonna cost a lot of money.
To put it on, you're saying.
Yes,
Just to put it
because just your tent, if you're gonna get a
on. Yeah,
big
right.
ass circuit tent, or if you're just gonna get a small tent for the bar area, leave the other open. If you're gonna have music, whatever you're gonna do. So you also have to look into this too, is what you got here is the price of all this. Would it be, since you got it, and they're gonna come in usually on a Thursday and set it up, so it's gonna be set up. If you have the volunteers
Oh,
to
yeah.
run it, would you just run it because it's there?
You're
2
saying
nights and get the
2
best, get
2
the
days,
most
yeah.
bang for your buck.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And if you're gonna have a band, you're gonna have to have fencing going around to enclose. And everything, which you can use snow fence, or you can just use a chain. It's just gotta be a fence 4 foot high. Is what it has to come down to. But the reason why I quit doing it is the renting of the tent and your tables and your chairs got astronomically high. And you had to sell a ton of beer, not to mention, you probably even want to charge to get in. Especially if you're gonna have a band or something in there for entertainment. To keep people there. I think it's a good idea. But I don't know how much revenue it's gonna bring in after the pricing on this.
I think.
'Cause it
we
is
definitely
expensive.
Have to have music. I mean,
You have to have something.
I just.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, why would somebody
Why
wanna
would
sit
ya?
around
Yeah,
that fence
yeah.
and drink beer?
Right.
But if
They
you're
do that in my
gonna have
car.
it set up,
I mean, not really. You didn't hear that, Dan.
and I can tell you in the past, Friday night we're good, just because people are getting out of work.
Yeah,
And
they
they're
just
coming
don't.
home.
Yeah.
And they wanna go and they wanna relax and and that's when it's
So
really.
you're saying because of the cost of the items to put the thing on in the first place, and you've got to run it for more than a day anyway. It's there, it's set up
Most places, even if you rented it for Saturday, they're gonna come in on a Thursday
Thursday
and set it up to make sure everything's all set up, and then they're gonna come in usually Sunday afternoon, or sometimes it's Monday, depending on who you get it through.
Mhm.
And they're gonna come out and take it all down and set it up for you. They will not do the perimeter unless you put it in the bid, but it's nothing to just go and bang in some stakes and run out.
Well, and then I'll add in
Change.
another little element here that I don't know, I don't know the elements to it, but I went to the Ox Roast, Duet Ox Roast this last year. And it was amazing. They had Star Farm playing and it was a social district. You basically had the beer
Yes.
tent, you had this and that, but you could also go into Relly's, get a beer, walk around, go to Star Farm. Obviously they have the fair and stuff like the carnival rides and stuff like that, but it was a whole social district. And I just don't know, again, I don't know the logistics of that, but it was an amazing time. There was thousands and thousands of people out there.
But that they bring them in, not to say that we can't bring them in, but.
Right.
Axles.
Right.
You know, so that brings in, because not only you have that, you have the soccer games, the basketball, the whole thing that keeps
Go.
everybody there.
Yeah,
For the
but
whole
they do
day.
other social things like
Yes.
that and do it, and they're very successful. Their DDA does one. That's,
Yep.
you know, right, of course, they have that perfect four-way that they, you know.
Yeah.
Their town down, it's like perfect. But yeah, I mean, I've been to other, I was at the DDA one that was thrown, and that had food trucks and, you know, the whole.
But we
You know,
do
like 5 or
bring
6 food
a
trucks.
decent amount for the pancake breakfast and stuff like that. I mean.
Yeah, that, I
like-
think that's why we talked about the Saturday was like, you know, everybody comes here, keep them here. Doing it, you
So,
know,
but
making
if
it an
you're gonna
all
do it-
day
If you're
thing.
gonna do it, then you're gonna wanna start it up in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Run it
wanna have some
longer.
Yeah.
entertainment down there to keep
Yeah.
people in and out.
Okay.
Amongst other stuff to keep people here.
I see the advantage of doing Friday and Saturday, now you said that.
If you got it, you might as well do it Friday night. Bring a band in and just
Yep.
let them go.
Yeah, I mean, Friday can be a little less, because, I
Yes.
mean, there's all kinds of things
Well,
going on during the day,
Could we do
Saturday. that-
Comedians.
Yeah, that's
And-
there. You know, I mean, I've gone to lots of. Times of my day, and it's usually what it is, like during the day, there's other things going on. The beer tent may not be super busy, but it slowly does
Yeah.
wind down, and I think that was the whole. Because with the summer fest, it kind of, everything was, you know, they had all the stuff gone, everybody's gone by, you know, 3 o'clock.
You roasted a pig at this one, didn't you?
Yep, we've had all the different stuff, and the biggest thing that was actually a huge draw, and one of the reasons why I quit doing it was the burnout competition, which I understand why the city and everything, because of the
Oh, yeah.
insurance, the liability, the whole 9 yards. But if we could bring something similar to something along that nature that people don't have around, that will also bring in other people besides just for the beer, or the beer tent, the pancake breakfast and the car show. Something else that gives people to do, because, yeah, I'd say that beer tent all day and have a good time, but a lot of people aren't gonna do that, you know?
Well, and
So-
you usually have, what do you usually have on Saturday? You usually have the
I have
magician.
magician, yeah.
Is it just, is that the only thing on Saturday? Like there, oh,
No,
don't you have
there
like.
was, you'll have to look at that.
Legion has their car show and
The
then they
art
have.
the
their
art
house
block
there.
went until, I would say 1 o'clock or something this year.
Right.
That's the first time we had it. And that actually did
Didn't you
okay.
do a karaoke thing or was that on Friday?
Oh, there was a silent disco at one point.
Oh,
But whoever you get for a band, in my opinion, it should be a well-known band, even if you
Yeah.
gotta
Yes.
charge to get
Yep.
into the tent. Some
Yep.
name that will draw from outside the area, like they're talking about, not just from Laingsburg, that's gonna draw people in. You know,
I did reach out to Star Farm, but it was a while ago and they don't,
Yeah.
that Saturday night was not an option.
they're booked.
Yeah, oh yeah, they.
So I feel like if we're gonna, we could always book them for next year though.
Yes.
I feel like,
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like. and we
now
could
the
start
problem
promoting
is,
it
it's just
already.
Yep.
getting a date, because if you're talking of doing it at pancake breakfast.
Mhm.
Well, it's like Mark just said, the Legion has their car show too, and they do a burnout and they have the outside beer and everything too, so you're double against both sides. So you gotta figure out a date when it will work together for everybody.
You don't wanna
Now-
throw this out there as an idea, but this could become an idea. We don't really have anything that we do in the fall. And we kind of sort of, we haven't talked, you know, with Sadie Bass or anything that we don't have anything going on. Kind of would be cool to kind of draw something with homecoming and we're bringing people home and. That weekend would kind of be something that would be kind of fun because people are coming home for homecoming. We'd have something to bring into the town. It's an idea. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, so we
large
don't really have
outing.
nothing for fall-ish.
Friday.
We have Summerfest, we have
On Friday.
springtime, but we don't really have a fall thing.
That's one of your largest outings. isn't it? And there's a ton of guys that come to it. I mean, a ton.
So then what, you have like a beer tent during the game and after, like after everybody's done golfing?
They do I mean, all the guys go to the church or
You up and eat, right?
eat and have beer there,
I don't think.
but there's no entertainment or nothing there.
No.
There's
Right.
food, but that's right after the golf, and then it's done.
I know what, I know, Wausau used to do Oktoberfest. And the chamber used to do something like that
You did
too,
it
but
around, that it'd be different every year. 'cause
Right, it's gonna
different.
move.
October 3rd this year.
That's
What
just
about-
like-
leave it out there as a up-brainer.
It's a good idea, but what about
Weather.
because
Yeah,
our schools now are starting before Labor Day. And most people, after they start, they don't go away, away. How about doing over Labor Day weekend? And it gives people that extra day to recover on Sunday and then still have Monday off. That's what I need. If it's an idea.
That,
And then you're not into the-
Consider the springtime. We already got the carnival rides with the, with the Lions
like what
Club.
they do with
I think our
us,
two
so.
biggest options really are the springtime festival and the pancake breakfast for having the people already coming here and
And
we're
it-
just adding to it.
Yeah,
and
you
getting
gotta
more-
remember it's a fundraiser, so you're.
But the only
Trying to make money.
problem against doing it over the springtime festival at that time is that you got businesses that rely on those people coming in. Where if you did it at a different time when they don't, it's a little different. You're not cutting each other's throat, like we're not trying to cut the Legion's car show and that and doing it on the same day. I mean, you gotta work together. That's why I was suggesting maybe, everybody thought the carnival was gonna be a flop over Memorial Day and it's turned out to be unbelievable for them. You don't wanna do it over the 4th because obviously everybody's gone.
Most
Of
likely.
doing that, but Labor Day with school starting up in the middle of August. That might be something, it's just a suggestion, I don't care.
So
Well,
if we
there's-
think about the Legion, then we would do it Thursday, Friday. If you're taking into consideration cutting their event. And then
You're
you
still-
consider the event on Saturday, their event. It still would be,
Well, I think, by
The
them
Summer
doing
Fest
theirs the
area.
same day as the downtown is kinda
I don't,
hurt the downtown as it is,
Yeah, because this car show gets done at like 3 and then they have to go out there and
Right.
stay and then the others go away.
Right?
And then they kind of hang out there till about 6 or something, then they burn the tires off and it's over.
Yep. Then they go in or they sit out there outside
Right,
and
or they leave.
do the thing, yeah.
But they don't have beer out there like late. I
Right,
don't think,
No.
I think it's shut
because
down.
it's all by volunteers, and
Right.
everybody.
Well, it's not like when it was the Mike Murray. Car
Sorry,
show,
right,
you know,
correct.
All the whole.
Right.
so in
Not like
essence,
that
those
anymore.
people would come, start drinking down here at 6 o'clock. That's what-
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I'm like, God, we should.
Yeah.
And then we have to start the music.
Let's go.
Yeah, music starts at 6. Keep this party going.
We should put a committee together and since how you've run one before.
I mean, I would
Well,
obviously be.
Absolutely think
There's-
you'd be the
There's
perfect
just,
person to.
just looking at this for the first time, you pretty much got everything. You gotta get your license, you gotta reserve the park, obviously, you gotta get your structure going around. And and all that stuff, but then you've gotta look at, the biggest is gonna be renting a tent.
Yep.
And the tables and the chairs, unless somebody has them, unless somebody knows.
And the date, I mean. when-
Project, it's a project.
Yeah,
Unless
Or an
somebody
event, not a
knows of
committee.
somebody who has a big tent,
Event,
or
there you
if
go.
the tent's too much, do you just wanna go to a small one? I mean. And then you also have to look at, okay, your beer, what you're gonna do, are you doing cans? Are you gonna do draft? Then you gotta consider, how are you gonna, cause nowadays,
keep it
before,
cold.
you used to be able, the beer suppliers used to have trailers. That you could get, couldn't be, they can't anymore, they took that away from them. So now you gotta go out and rent unless you guys find 5 people who will let you borrow their kegerator. And you have
I know.
2 or 3 flowing, and then you have 2 that just sitting there that are keeping the other beer cold. And you also gotta have, okay, where are we gonna put the extra beer to keep it cold in case you need more, in case this thing goes over, because I can recall going through 6 kegs at one time down there and I had to go to Owasso and pick up 2 more. Because you don't know. And you don't worry want to tell people at 8 o'clock at night, oh, I had a beer.
We're out.
That's why you have 8
So
kegs for
it's-
Ellie's open
Help
house.
him out.
Different scenarios that happen that you do not, you do not know.
Take this list, Michael, and take and add to it.
Yeah.
And then you guys. You're gonna have to put together a date. I mean, and then we'll have to kind of vote on it and come up with, this is the date.
And
But our, if you think time, it's gonna run so fast, it's gonna be
oh,
gone.
and the thing about it is, I think, like Gail said, she looked into Star Farm. You gotta know within a month so that we can go out and try to get some acts.
I'm saying, so by
something
next
that's
month-
Decent,
Some things gonna have to be settled.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a great idea, but to throw something like this together, I mean. And you don't want it to be a flop the first time, because if it is, then everybody's gonna be like, I don't wanna go there again.
I do think we did, figure out during the city bass and the Royal thing, a tent place that were local, that are reasonable. I think that they would do us good.
Well, I can tell you the last one
So,
that
I
I
mean, we
did,
could put together at least some tent information, but I mean, when you're looking at a good band, I mean, there's a wide,
I know that Be Kind Rewind
Yeah.
is out there and
I know
Global
somebody-
Village.
I know somebody that
Those are,
No. knows the Be Kind. I think I could get those. if-
How much is a band per night? 800, 1,000, 1,500?
Because I-
No, it depends on the band.
Right, I
So
know.
the Cypher's like $3,000 or $4,000, like $4,000.
$4,000.
Yeah, but that Be Kind Rewind, I went to Horrocks and it ended up my daughter knew the wife of him. So that's usually how you get your best deals and you can
Yes.
get them. And so I did,
But you can,
but there, but I.
you're not
don't
gonna
think
get
like-
one for $1,500,
oh, you could,
maybe?
I
But
would
when
say, I
you
would
drop
say
it
that,
down-
I think you wanna, I
Yeah.
think you wanna say 2,000 at
Okay,
least.
so it's a couple $1,000.
yep.
If
And
you
you're-
did that
and
each
just
night,
so-
that's $4,000 right there.
The last one that I did, renting a tent, tables and chairs was $1,800.
how many years ago?
Exactly. The last one that I did, and I'm like, this is not worth me putting all the time and effort into this. You know, and it was just. It felt a lot of money for what you got out of it, a lot of work.
That's something you guys may want to look at is this even gonna be worth?
Right, I
Well,
was just thinking that
right,
too.
You gotta scratch it down and get some.
Yep,
some,
numbers together.
You know, numbers together. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
This is what I'll do.
You guys are smart enough to
I'll
know
call and get
approximates.
a price on a tent, different sizes.
Yep.
In case we decide we wanna go with it, but we can't afford a great big huge tent, well, if it's a nice night, who cares? You can still put tables and chairs and everything out there.
Yep.
They don't need a tent, just have it over the beer area with the lights and everything else. And we can do that, and
Like,
then,
for something like that, LBC has a 40 by 40 tent or 20 by 20 that we use for
Yeah, we
pancake
do.
breakfast. We own that now. So that's something that would be very readily available.
yeah,
To do instead of spending
Yeah.
$300-400 to rent something like that.
And then pray on the weather.
yeah.
I think
Now you do that
too.
every day.
Yeah,
I
And
was
then you can
gonna
just
say,
get a
you
smaller
can't-
one and add that other one on the back for the tent, the beer, the vendors or whoever can go around the outside or wherever you want them to do. You know, but it will be a chunk of change to put this on. And then you're probably gonna have to figure out, do you wanna charge for people coming in? How much you gonna charge for the beer? Everything else, because you don't wanna take a loss.
Well, and you want to make sure you promote it as a fundraiser for the downtown.
Yeah, the whole theory is to try
Yeah.
to make a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Right,
More
And you
than a
have to
couple.
promote it that way too,
Right,
so people
right.
know why
No,
they're paying.
That's the
for it.
reason you're paying is
Yes.
because it's for your own community. You're gonna-
but if most people look at it, if they look at it smartly, if you were to go to a movie,
Right.
you know, and you go into a movie and you get two popcorns, you've got 60 to 80 bucks wrapped up right there with your tickets.
Yes.
Click.
Yeah, so,
But the
Right.
price of the movie.
Put it together
all right,
next month.
So I'm okay doing artwork on Saturday, pancake breakfast on, I won't be, we're not gonna be doing anything. With the beer tent at 1 o'clock, right, Brady?
I mean,
Well,
No,
here's
she-
a,
You could just put in there that you're gonna open up on Saturday
Yeah,
at
like
3
3.
afternoon, yeah.
because
Whatever,
the
yeah.
longer you're
You-
open and the more
It
likely
could,
you are to
if
sell
you,
everything you buy.
yeah, if you work, if you
Yeah.
decide to go, you can set up your open times as when you wanna do it, because another thing that you gotta look at too. Is that your volunteers are gonna be there all freaking day long.
Yes.
And if you open up like I did 11 o'clock and you're there all freaking day long and
Yeah.
all night long, you're drunk, you
And
can't
if-
walk out.
And if it's middle of the summer and 90 degrees,
Who do you do,
Humid.
how many people do you do your beer tent with? If you just not just somebody stops in and helps you, like for a second, like.
How many FTEs?
And then I get, and then I get like 2 people volunteering to do the beer and things like that. And I did a table that where they go up and buy tickets. So you just go up and buy your tickets, so that way the people doing the beer, they just go out and hand them a ticket and they're all good. Same way with the food, we did the
So if
food.
you had 6 to 8 people,
I'm just wondering
you
if
could get
it,
accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need 1 person at the gate taking money, or 2, probably 2 at the gate taking money, probably 2 taking money for the beer tickets and 2 running the bar. And you'll be able to get volunteers for that easy. Because people were coming out saying, yeah, I'll do it for a couple hours. They don't want to sit there and do it all night,
Right.
but everybody would do it to help out, like you were saying, bring people in to help from outside, even if they're not, you can get people to come in and help.
Yeah.
And you can get the board to handle the money and let these other people handle the beer, and then you can get bracelets, which you can get bracelets from your beer suppliers, and if they're 21, I don't know if you want to set an age limit as to what's, going on, but after a certain amount, they all get a bracelet. They're 21. Bartenders don't have to worry about it. They don't have a bracelet, they don't get nothing.
I'm going to call the Tide Rewind and find out if they're available, because that's the problem right now. You
Yeah,
might think it's
that-
good people.
that weekend availability.
Yeah, so do them first and then Global Village.
I think.
And find out what an
Those are the 3
approximate
big
price,
ones.
I mean, within a few.
Yeah,
couple
that
bucks,
helps,
yeah, just
yeah.
let you know.
we're back at pancake weekend.
I don't care when.
Well, you kind of need an idea in order to call and you.
Yes.
I'm just gonna find out what the cost of tennis is.
Well, I didn't know if
Whenever
it
we
was
do it.
different.
If
Let's
we
try-
wanna do
let's
it
try
for
that
that
weekend,
weekend, that's
so.
fine, but if you're gonna do it, I'd start a Friday night too.
Okay, but
Yeah,
let's try that
I agree.
weekend.
I agree. Let's do it Friday night.
Friday and Saturday night?
Yeah,
I mean,
So
if you're
as far as.
renting or doing that much,
Yeah.
We're getting 2 different bands, or are we gonna go with an idea of, I was saying something about maybe doing.
Yeah, right.
Median type thing and getting a cheap band. Like one night and then a better band. Like,
You're like Friday night.
Ye-
I think Saturday night would probably be, they have a good
Big
band.
band, yeah, good band.
Keep
and
people
then
down
Friday
here
night,
that wanna
yeah.
come back.
it's
Friday night.
after the.
Kinda somebody
DJ
local.
is done.
how long does the band play?
Normally 2 hours.
Oh, so short period of time.
You give them breaks, you can use it.
You can get them more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you run the tent till like 11 o'clock at night, you could have them start at 7 or
7.
so, have them play till 10. Or if you wanna have them
Still
go
daylight
later,
then.
because I was just gonna say, if you wanna get later, because it's still daylight,
Yeah.
that'll at least give you a couple hours in the dark, whatever. So,
Couple JBL speakers during the day or something, I mean.
Anything.
playing just.
Music, So
Put it down on the list. Swear to God, I mean, whatever you're thinking about and it
Mark.
pops up in your head, put it down on here so that we can go over those rather quickly. I mean, as long as you've done it, so put them down there so that because we're not thinking about certain things.
So remember the LBCA will have Thursday night. I'll be in Thursday. night. Like normal.
Here.
it's fine, you can promote it then too.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
perfect.
Help the crap out of it then, yeah.
So we'll already have a band Thursday. and
Who's the
then
band?
Let me ask me a question.
Yeah, go home, take a nap. Go take a nap. All
All
right,
right, let's get out of here.
sounds good to me. Oh my Gosh. that was
I just wanted to show you guys a thank you from Winterfest. And then also Wednesday night, we have award ceremony for business person and unsung hero, and you can all come as well. 6 o'clock.
Oh,
It's so far, 6 o'clock.
yeah.
I was thinking about.
What the cycle is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my shit together.
So, it says May to May, so I'm like, we're not.